Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to today's video. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because that will help me out in growing the channel and being able to produce more videos like this one. This episode will guide you through the issues of Uncanny X-Men published in 1982. Issue 159. When this issue starts, the X-Men enter an apartment that belongs to the private investigator Misty Knight, who is a friend of the team. Instead of Misty, they find another person there who they don't recognize, apart from Kitty, namely Harmony Young, who apparently is a top fashion model in New York. The X-Men introduce themselves and Harmony explains how she's the roommate of Misty, and says the X-Men are welcome and says something flirtatious to the guys, while Wolverine goes looking for a beer. Kitty seems somewhat displeased with Harmony calling Colossus cute. Wolverine reminds Kitty on how she has an appointment with her parents and Kitty seemingly forgot about it. She asks Storm if she will come along, but having no fitting outfit, Harmony helps them out with their wardrobe. When the girls are all dressed up, they head out and look for a taxi. It seems like a foggy evening. Next we take a look at a conversation between Scott and Alex. They talk about all the things that have happened recently, about Professor X's estate and about the reunion with her father, who they hadn't seen since they were little kids. After playing around with their powers a bit, they head back inside to join Corsair and Polaris. They talk about Corsair's plans and whether he will stay on Earth now, or go back to being a space pirate, and whether Scott and Alex should join him. Corsair says he doesn't know. Back in Greenwich Village, we see Nightcrawler talking to Harmony about how he was in a circus in a past life. Kitty calls on the phone and says that she is doing alright at her parents' place. She asks to speak to Storm, but Storm hasn't returned yet. This worries Kurt, since Kitty says how she left hours ago and was supposed to go straight back to the apartment. We then see Storm lying on the floor, with a stream of blood coming from her throat. She gets rushed into a hospital and the personnel try and save her life. The police are able to inform the other X-Men by making a phone call to a New York address, which they found in the victim's wallet. When they arrive, they meet up with Dr. O'Hara, and she tells them the police think she was attacked, yet not robbed nor molested. She also tells them that Aurora seemingly recovered fast, and that the damage done seemed far worse than it actually was. Just some blood loss, but nothing major. They had considered a blood transfusion, but weren't able to match the blood type. The test came out with a result the doctor had not seen before. Logan worries about the doctors poking about with their tests and figuring out that she's a mutant, which would blow their cover. They enter Storm's room and see her up and about already. Storm wants to leave, the doctor asks her to stay, just to be sure. Storm thinks to herself how staying longer jeopardizes the X-Men's secrets, but she also feels strangely safe in the hospital. She's surprised to find that she's somewhat scared of the night, while she looks outside through one of the windows and thinks she sees eyes staring at her. She waves it off as just being in her imagination. When they get back to Missy's apartment, she gets put to bed by Peter, Logan and Kurt, and she tells them to stop mothering her. Kurt tells her to get some sleep and that they'll be right outside if she needs them. She tries to fall asleep, but it doesn't work. She keeps tossing and turning and she starts hearing things. It seems there's a fog entering the room. Her senses are becoming unbearably acute. She hears a voice calling to her but tries to ignore it. She starts sweating and feels as if she's dreaming. She rises from her bed and opens a window and tells something to come inside. The fog surrounds her and Storm enjoys the feeling. At the end of Sunday afternoon, Kitty returns from her stay at her parents'. She sees a threesome of worried faces and asks where Storm is. The guys tell her Aurora got attacked on Friday night and that she's not doing well. They thought she was, but apparently had a setback in her recovery. They don't know what's going on with her, and she won't allow them to call a doctor or take her back to the hospital. Logan tells Kitty that Storm does not seem to want to go on leave. Kitty races to Missy's room, where Storm is, and opens the curtains to let some light in through the window. Storm yells to Kitty to close them again because the daylight is hurting her. Kitty looks at Aurora and she looks horrible, weak, pale and all. Kitty starts a conversation with Storm and comments on her nice scarf. Storm says she got it from an admirer, but she also wonders how that can be, since he's but a figment of her imagination, a phantom who haunts her dreams. There's a capital letter D on the scarf. Storm flinches when some light is reflected off of Kitty's Star of David necklace. Kitty starts wondering if she's being ridiculously superstitious, or if there's really a connection between the aversion to sunlight, to religious artifacts, anemia, and the dreams she's been having. Kitty tries to approach Storm, but Storm slaps her away and tells her to leave her be. Kitty then faces to the next room and has a quick interaction with Logan before she leaves the apartment. The next night, Storm has one more of her supposed dreams. There is once again a fog, and the fog almost seems alive. Storm gets up out of bed and opens the window yet again to let her secret lover in. He courts her, and Aurora is receptive to this. The Prince of Darkness has found a new bride and he wants her blood, soul and life. At that moment, Kitty faces through the wall holding a cross in her hands. She apparently had figured out that there was something going on of this caliber. Dracula jumps at first sight but notices how it has no effect. It's because Kitty is not a Christian, but of the Hebrew faith. Being Jewish makes that the cross as a religious symbol carries no power because her beliefs are not in line with the religious artifact she's holding. Dracula attacks Kitty and grabs her by the neck. Luckily, the silver Star of David necklace around her neck burns his hand. Kitty tries to convince Storm to leave with her, now that Dracula is distracted, but Storm hits Kitty in the face. None may harm her lord, and she and Dracula both fly out of the window, with Storm telling Kitty to forget about her and to not try and follow her and save her, or she will meet with an early death. The rest of the X-Men come barging in because they heard a fight and ask Kitty where Aurora is. She explains what had happened and how she did not tell them because she wasn't sure if that was what was really going on. But she shows them the scarf with a capital letter D on it. Wolverine dismisses it, saying it probably belongs to Misty or Harmony. But Kurt tells Wolverine to take Kitty more seriously, and that Kurt does believe it because where he comes from, in Bavaria, Germany, they have had more experiences with vampires and Dracula in particular. Kitty says they have to find Storm and help her before it's too late, and Wolverine is up for the task. A couple hours later, and thanks to Wolverine's heightened senses, the trail ends in Central Park, New York, at the Belvedere Castle. They get attacked by Dracula and several creatures, and Kurt jumps towards Dracula, but he gets easily dealt with. Colossus and Wolverine deal with the creatures while they try and protect Nightcrawler. Colossus and Wolverine perform an attack they call the Fastball Special, as Colossus throws Wolverine at their enemy. Dracula transforms into a mist, and Wolverine misses his target and lands right in front of the dogs that came with Dracula. Colossus goes head-to-head with Dracula, but gets thrown through the woods by him. Wolverine and Nightcrawler agree they can't beat Dracula with raw power and come up with another tactic. Wolverine says he's seen the movies and makes a cross with his adamantium claws. Dracula responds by saying what he said to Kitty, that it has no merit if you're not a true believer. Luckily, Kurt is a devout Catholic and he's making a cross out of wood and sticks. This does have an effect, and Dracula summons lightning bolts out of the sky and keeps attacking Nightcrawler, who tries to keep away from the attacks by teleporting. Something he can do for a while, but not endlessly. In the meantime, we follow Kitty, who has made her entrance in the castle, looking for Storm. She has no idea where to go, so she just walks around and sees where it will lead her. She thinks to herself how huge the place is and how it gives her the creeps. She stumbles into a room and sees a coffin there. She wonders if it's Storm's coffin or Dracula's coffin. She sneaks closer and is ready to open the lid, with a wooden stake in her hands. When she opens it, it appears to be empty. She pours holy water inside and she hopes it's Dracula's coffin. At that moment, Kitty gets struck, and as a reflex she faces, too late, and ends up half in a wall. She sees it's Storm, but a changed Storm. Eyes red, teeth fanged, and she wonders how that's possible, since she has not had the time to get raised from the grave 3 days after she had died. She concludes that her transformation has begun while she's still alive and that it's warping Storm's mind. Storm tells Kitty that she shouldn't resist, because the change she's experiencing is quite beautiful. She faces through Storm and reaches for the wooden stake she was holding in her hands before. Aurora says that, with her powers, Kitty is no match for her. Kitty tries to convince Storm to fight Dracula's influence, since she told her she was a goddess consecrated to life. She pleads to fight Dracula with all her heart and soul. Kitty drops a stake and calls Aurora's bluff and tells her to take her life then if she wants it so badly. The X-Men, still fighting with Dracula, have not gotten any further in winning the battle. Kurt returns after having teleported all around Central Park, trying to escape Dracula's lightning bolt attacks. He tries to trick Dracula in hitting himself with one of his own bolts, but all he did was hit the X-Men and Dracula is still standing strong. Storm approaches and asks Dracula what he will do with the X-Men. He tells her that he will slay them. Aurora then attacks Dracula. Apparently the control he had over her has been somewhat broken. She chases him in the air and smashes him inside a restaurant 50 stories high. Dracula commands her to bare her neck, and even though there's still a remainder of his hold he had over her, she's able to resist. She picks up a broken table leg and plans on using it as a stake, while Dracula comments on how she's been able to resist him twice now. He grabs one of the guests of the restaurant and threatens to rip her throat out if Storm doesn't yield. Storm surrenders, but not entirely. She demands Dracula to free the woman, and she tells him that she will destroy him, no matter how long it takes, and also that no innocent blood will get spilled because of her. She says that he may transform her into a vampire, even slay her, but he will never own her. She was born free and will remain so. Dracula acknowledges how, when he tasted her blood, that she is a woman of rare strength, courage and beauty, and how those qualities attracted him to her and have now defeated him. He leaves the scene, saying how when he was alive he was a prince, and that she is one of the few women he has ever met worthy of being his queen. And how apparently he cannot force his will on her, how she has earned his respect and thus her life. Storm tells him that he will not escape that easily, and Dracula responds by saying that she shouldn't push her luck. That there's no use in chasing him because the world is vast and she will never find a trace of him, no matter how hard she tries. And when next time they meet, it will be at a time and place of his choosing. When the sun rises and the X-Men gather themselves, Kitty notices how Storm is doing fine in direct sunlight, and apparently the vampiric infection must be gone. Storm and Kitty hug, telling one another how scared they were. They shed tears and Storm thanks Kitty for what she did, and Storm is in debt to her, beyond human payment. When they make their way downstairs, they are greeted by Harmony, Misty and Misty's best friend Colleen Wing. They share some drinks and Storm retells exactly what had happened, albeit reluctantly. They receive a phone call and the person on the other end is asking for Storm. It's Moira, telling the X-Men to hurry and return to the island as soon as possible and for them to pick up Cyclops on the way home. Professor X has taken a turn for the worse. Thanks for watching this episode.